think she knows how to
Using
do
Internet Explorer, using Google.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
We're live.
Oh, okay. I'm not, don't worry about it.
You can go right to it.
Yeah.
You're done. You're there. You're on.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Monday, March 10th, 2014 legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. Very grateful for your attendance. Thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome. The first thing I'd like to do is just make a couple of announcements. First of all, if everyone doesn't mind, if you've got your cell phone on, if you wouldn't mind turning that on silent or turning it off. Or on vibrate, that's fine too. And if you've got an important call to take, please take it out in the hallway. Just for our guests, the benefit of our guests, please know that there's an emergency exit out the door to your right and then to the right down the stairs. And there's a secondary emergency exit out the door to your right and then left past the elevator. If you'll please now join me for stand with me for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we have some guests with us this evening. Our first item on our agenda is our community organization presentation, and I will invite Nina DiCarlo East from Stop the Violence organization to come forward if you'll join us at the podium, unless you need to be here with the PowerPoint.
I don't.
Okay, you have a clicker. Great. Then if you'll join us at the podium, we will hear about the great work you're doing at Stop the Violence.
Thank you for having me. My name is Nina DiCarlo East. I'm on the board of directors of Stop the Violence in Wycomico County. We are located over off Callaway Street, right behind Lombardi's off Brown Street. We have a gymnasium. We also have a kitchen. We have a computer lab. We do tutoring after school for these kids. I want to go through and just, most of you know and are familiar with Stop the Violence. Most of you have actually been there. I've seen most of you there. So thank you for coming and thank you for your support. Your support has been awesome through the last year. It's been so needed and such a blessing for us to have it. So thank you. Our goal in Stop the Violence is mainly just to make a positive difference in these kids' lives. We actually do provide education, tutoring, and after school staying off the street programming. It's pretty incredible. We originally started because a lot of people actually came to us and said, we have the third highest gun crime rate in Maryland. And most of those crimes are being committed by kids 15 to 18. So we sat down and said, well, what are we going to do about it? Let's stop sitting here and talking about it, and let's do something. Something you guys have actually done recently, which is awesome. You guys have really worked super hard to better our area, and we're really proud of that. And working together with you, the City of Salisbury, as well as our community members, we took the proactive solution, and in 2011, we opened the center. Within 3 weeks, we had 50 to 70 kids coming out every single night. Right now, we're averaging about 63 kids a night. These are 63 children between the hours of 5 and 8 that have nowhere else to go. They would seriously be on the street doing God knows what. So we are so excited to be able to provide this for our kids. We have partnered with Wycomico County Parks and Rec. They help us with a program in the summer for a summer camp. Salisbury's Promise, Kids Rock, the City of Salisbury, of course, the Wycomico Mentoring Project. The Salisbury Sunrise Rotary has helped us do a football program, soccer, and we are starting a basketball program. And Asbury United Methodist Church has actually come through with some food for us, for these kids. We have about 70 plus participants, elementary and middle school students. We really average, the average age we have is about 14 to 15. but we do have between 5 and 18-year-olds. Sometimes we have a little bit older. We try to keep that down, but we have a lot of kids coming out, all different age groups. One of the programs we have actually started this year is called the Young Women of Dignity. We're teaching young ladies responsibility. We're teaching them proper hygiene, something they're not being taught at school or at their home. We're teaching them financial literacy, how to support themselves, how to find a job, how to prepare for their future, and what do they want to do, and how are we going to get them there. We also, something that's close to my heart is actually giving back. We've been trying to instill in these children the sense of giving back to their community, and that they can do more. And so whether it's giving a coat that they grew out of to another kid, or we have a couple kids over at Halo right now who are serving food. So we're excited to work with other groups and instilling in them the sense of giving back. We also have the Extraordinary League of Gentlemen. It's pretty much the exact same thing except for young men. Right now, last year, we were working on about a $68,000 a year budget. All donations, and that's pretty much it. Donations. So we have a facility expense. We actually run our facility. We have been blessed with a great facility in the exact right area, as well as our employees. We have 2 part-time employees. We also have an AmeriCorps worker. They work between 3 and 12 hours a week. And make very, very low wages, but they're awesome. We also have an incredible volunteer base. We're always looking for more volunteers, always need help with the tutoring and other aspects, but we're really trying to survive right now. We are a group that, we have a future, but we need to survive. Our main needs are funding, of course, for our current operations, funding to expand our programs and improve the facility, funding to help help us get 1 or 2 more employees for a year. Funding to purchase the property and building. One thing that these children don't have is anything that's theirs. If we could purchase the building, it would be huge to have these kids have a space that is theirs, that we can all take care of and actually start doing some improvements on the property. So that's actually a huge thing right now. We actually even have the fields that we run across the street. So that's where we have our soccer and football programs. And then volunteers, of course. We're always looking for volunteers. If you know anyone who's a teacher and has nothing else to do or wants to come out for an hour a month or a week, we will take them. Somebody who likes to teach dance or yoga can just do anything with these children, arts and crafts. Just want to talk to them. Sometimes they just need a little love, just to ask them how their day was. I know that seems small, especially when you have parents that love you, but sometimes you just need hey, how are you? And they want to talk. They need to talk. So we're trying to change this community one kid at a time. Thank you for having us, and thank you for supporting us.
Absolutely. Nina, thank you for being here and sharing this with us, and for the incredible work you and your organization are doing. I think we want to know what your additional needs are, what we can do to help, one, and then 2, if you can give some contact information so people watching and listening at home know how to reach out to your organization. I think that'd be useful as a first step, and then I think we've got some other questions as well. Okay.
Funding, of course. That's our number one need. Our bank account is pretty low right now. We are month to month, so that is our main need right now. So again, any funds, donations, any ideas you have for raising money, we are into that. we will take it. Also, what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Contact information.
Contact information. I have a brochure. We are actually Stop the Violence in Wycomico County, P.O. Box 1066, and Salisbury, Maryland 21802. And my email is actually Nina@DiCarlo, DICARLO, the numeral 1.com. So it's Nina@DiCarlo1.com. Please feel free to call us at any time or email us. Calling 410-251-8028.
So 410-251-8028.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
I was going to tell you to tell them about the meeting Thursday? Is it Thursday?
Thursday night, Cities United, part of the State of the City address. They are having Erica Atwood come speak to us. We're very excited to have her and just the group of people that she's going to bring in to actually talk about our youth and help deter violence among young men and deter
She's from
crime.
the city of Philadelphia.
She is
that
from the
right?
city of Philadelphia. She's a pretty incredible woman. I would love you guys to come out 6:30 on Thursday night. We're having everyone, so please come. Bring people. We want everyone to hear what she has to say to help change our community even more for the better.
Great, thank you.
Yes, I've been to your facility and I love what I see. And I see that you need help there, definitely, you know. One question I had was, people, you know, when you think about donations, you think about cash. Now, what would you accept in the way of donations in kind? What sort of things do you need?
Food, healthy snacks for these kids, art supplies, educational supplies, notebooks, workbooks, pencils. We're really short on pencils lately. Anything arts and crafts wise, rubber bands. They love to do those rubber band jewelry. Anything you guys can think of, especially educational wise, puzzles, flashcards, anything like that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And are you working on getting a website?
We are. We actually had one, and I don't know what happened to it. It went down and never came back up. So yes, we are working on that.
Great.
We do have a Facebook page. Like us on Facebook.
There you go. Okay, thank you. Shani, did you have something else? No?
Thank you.
So, and you know, I think sitting here, passing notes with Mr. Spees, and you know, yes, we'll share them with the teacher. But I think something he brought up is a really good point. That, you know, we should do everything we can to help you. So if there are things we should look at, like tax breaks or anything else for a building when you're to that point, I think be prepared or feel comfortable coming and talking to us about that.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Yes, I mean the building is huge right now. We are trying to grow, and that is a big deal. So we would like to purchase the building. It's out of our price range right now, but I mean there is, you know, we would love to. It's the perfect building in the most perfect spot. Our kids all walk to us. Very few of them get a ride. They're walking, they're riding their bikes, or they're running to us. Wet, soaked, they come into us soaked if it's raining. So, I mean, that's what they're doing. And a lot of their parents don't even know they're there.
Well, and if you're working with the building owner at some point in negotiations, and there are things that the city can do to help, you know, you two find common ground.
Okay.
That's something we should entertain.
We would love that. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Does anyone else have any questions?
I'll see you Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see you Thursday.
We look forward to seeing you on Thursday at the Cities United. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Carl.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Great. Well, on that positive note, let's move forward into our agenda. The first item is the adoption of the legislative agenda. I will entertain a motion to adopt the legislative agenda.
So moved.
All right, I hear a motion and a second from Ms. Mitchell and Mr. Spees.
President Day,
Yes.
I'd like to make one change. I'd like to move ordinance number 2281 at the beginning of the ordinances.
Okay, that's moving ordinance number 2281 before ordinance number 2278.
2281.
Yep,
Okay.
up to the front of the ordinances.
Yes.
Okay, any discussion on that? Are hearing none? All those in favor of the motion as, of the legislative agenda as amended, please signify your support by saying aye. And chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Shields. Is there a second? Ms. Mitchell? All right, Ms. Nichols?
Good evening.
Good evening.
On the consent agenda tonight, we have the February 18th, 2014 work session minutes, February 24th, 2014 regular meeting minutes, and Resolution number 2374, approving the appointment of Heather Bacher Smith to the Revolving Loan Bankers Review Committee for term ending 8/31/2018. And that's it.
Okay. Ms. Smith is not here, is she? No. Okay.
She was unable to make it.
She was unable to make it. All right. Well, we thank her for her service. Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. Next item on our agenda is resolution number 2375. I'll entertain a motion to
So
I'll entertain a
moved.
motion to support.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Shields, and seconded by Mr. Spies. Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, and good evening, members of the council and those of you viewing from home. Resolution 2375 is a resolution of the City of Salisbury accepting an overtime reimbursement from the United States Marshal Service for the Salisbury Police Department's investigation, arrest, and prosecution of persons who have active state and federal warrants. What this would do is allow the Chief of Police to enter into an MOU to accept these funds so that the monies can be used for overtime. And forgive me, I was going to try, but I'm not going to be able to do this without my glasses. Try as I might. Hopefully next, I think it's this Saturday, I'll be outfitted with some contacts and I won't have to go through this. So I'm not going to get any crazy colors or anything. So what this will do is it will allow the police department to use overtime resources to apprehend local, state, and federal fugitives who are wanted but not limited to for 2 reasons, such as violent crimes against persons, weapons offenses, felony drug offenses, and failure to register as a sex offender. I do have the colonels in the audience with us tonight, so if you have any questions, you might direct them to him. But again, this just simply allows the chief of police to enter into this MOU to exceed money not to exceed $34,000. Thank you.
This is a renewal,
Mitchell?
correct?
Yes.
I thought so.
Within the police department's budget, this overtime amount will be, say, sectioned off from general overtime. It'll be directly put to this effort.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? Questions for Colonel Barclay? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. All right. I will call the question if there's no other comments or questions. All those in favor of resolution number 2375, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Okay. Next item on our next item on council's agenda is resolution number 2376. Entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2376.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Mitchell, seconded by Mr. Spies. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you. Before I get started, if I could, I'd like to take this opportunity to pass along, in addition to the packet, it came to my attention today that 1 page of the documentation was missing. So, Mr. Arrington, if you'll pass that along. What you'll see here is the entire packet. It includes the cover memorandum as well as the other information in that final page that was missing from your packet.
Is this the second to last page? Is that what was
Yes.
missing?
Yes, and I apologize for that. Resolution 2376 is a resolution of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor and the council president to sign a memorandum of understanding with Wycomico County regarding a mutual sharing of snow removal responsibilities. The city and county have both talked about this, and then Mr. Moulds is in the audience with us this evening. And what we have is a situation where the city and county roads, the city goes in and out of the county as they go through their process of clearing the designated snow emergency routes. So rather than pick the plow up and move on through a piece of road that actually belongs to the county and then put the plow back down, What Mike and Lee have decided to do is to work out an agreement where they would have shared responsibility. And part of your packet, I believe it says that the exchange of lane miles here, Wycomico County would agree to pick up 42.14 lane miles, and the city of Salisbury would agree to pick up, and that's the page that I'm missing, if somebody could help me there. It's very close.
40.47. Which
So,
would be a difference of
Mr. Moulds
1.67.
and Mr. Beecham have worked all that out. And I know that we had talked about this in the past, and that's my understanding, obviously, and I think, hopefully, we won't have any more snow this year.
No,
I know you'd be happy if we didn't get any more. I saw the chief officer over here knocking on wood, but what we would do is, once this MOU is struck, we would set up an opportunity for the various crews to understand what their new responsibilities would be, and we would actually execute this next year. So it seems like the right thing to do. I appreciate the time and attention that Mr. Moulds and Mr. Beecham have put into preparing it. So barring that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
All right.
Great idea.
Questions or comments?
Great idea.
Great idea.
My comment is way to go, and this will be something that'll be taken off the election cycle debates. Okay?
Yeah.
At long last.
Finally. Yeah, once again, this is common sense. This is government at work, working well, working smart, being efficient. It's great.
I do have one question, and
Yes.
this is what led to my question earlier that found this missing. Mr. Tillman, on the page that was missing, 3F, the indemnity clause, is that sufficient for, say, mailboxes that are knocked over? That's been in the news a lot during plowing, things like that. If we're going out into the county, we don't usually have that problem in the city, but if we're going out into the county where there aren't curbs, one of our plows may hit somebody's mailbox. Or they could hit
Yeah.
somebody's car in the city, I mean.
Right, but normally the vehicle that's doing the plowing is gonna be the insured vehicle, so we would indemnify them for any, damage caused by us.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't think it's any problem, but obviously the administration should contact Legit and make sure we don't need something new on our policy. But other than that, we should be fine.
So I'm just thinking about the person whose mailbox or car gets hit, they're in the county, they're gonna call the county, and the county's gonna say, no, the city plowed that road, plows that street. Just to make sure that we're clear on that and with Legit that we're good.
Thank you.
And as a point of interest, we're also investigating this as far as street sweeping goes too. Working with the county to,
Mr. Moulds, can you answer that question? You want to come forward, please?
when I say investigating, that leaves it really open.
We thought about
We thought about it, yes.
Now, one of the discussions had been to modify this memorandum of understanding to also include street sweeping, but they're sort of two different animals. So we'll be looking at that where there might be some shared routes because the county is picking up more street sweeping as far as their water quality objectives. But yeah, that'll be a discussion we'll be having.
Thank you.
And full disclosure, when I know this has been under discussion in various circles for a long time. When I have talked about this with Mr. Moulds and with Mr. Beecham, it's been as a paving and plowing discussion. So we've talked about it in terms of paving as well, and it would work similarly, but I know that's a little more difficult. We're talking about, longer term projects, but I'd like to see us figure that out as well. And again, I realize that may be longer term, but plowing as a first step, street sweeping as a next step, paving as a long term, I think would be reasonable. So we'll continue to talk.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, any other questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 2376 as presented, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right, the next item on our agenda is resolution number 2377. Entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Mitchell, is there a second?
I'll offer a second.
All right, there's a second by Mr. Spies. Mr. Stevenson?
Thank you. We have all on many occasions had the opportunity to hear Mr. Tillman here at the podium trying to get us through the ordinances that have been prepared by Ms. Lindsay Rader, our bond counsel. So I have the opportunity to try to get us through that exercise this evening. So in order to not overcomplicate this, my comments are going to be very brief, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Molds to come forward and explain what this will accomplish in layman's terms. So here I go.
You're not going to read all that, right?
I am not, especially with the braces here. So, resolution number 2377 will authorize the City of Salisbury to issue and sell 2 separate series of general obligation bonds in the respective aggregate principal amount of $66,375 and $64,625 that will be designated respectively as the City of Salisbury Water Quality Bond Series 2014A and the City of Salisbury Water Quality Bond Series 2014B. And there is, I think in your packet, probably a good 75 or 80 pages of material that comes from Ms. Rader. But Mr. Molds, if you would come forward and tell us what this is going to mean for us. Thank you.
Okay, just keep in mind, I'm an engineer, not a lawyer. Basically, you dealt with the ordinance before that made the adjustment in the amount that was going to be part of the project for the Waverly bioretention units. What MDE is providing is a loan forgiveness for the certain amount of the project costs. That's why the bond is broken into 2 parts. The $464,625 is a bond that we would get, then we would incur those expenses, and then MDE, we would submit for reimbursement, and they will reimburse that money. But we have to put the money up front, which is why we had to do the bond. The other 12.5% of it is the other bond, which is the $66,375, which is our share that we have for the project. So the total of those 2 is the $531,000, which was the amount of the project. So basically, you've got the 87.5% principal forgiveness, which is the $464,625, and the 12.5% base loan amount of $66,375.
100% of the requested funds were provided, just in 2 different forms, correct?
Correct.
All right. Other questions? Not going to dig into this one?
Gotta do what we gotta do.
You don't even scroll past this one.
Okay. Well, all right, so no other questions, no comments, no concerns? All right, Ms.
Well,
Schmaltz.
you did all right.
Thank you.
Yes,
Front
thank you very
engineer.
much.
That actually made sense.
We
Now,
can reimburse, what can I say?
we may need to ask
Hey,
the
that's a good
attorney at the
part.
table whether or not you did a good job pretending to be an attorney, but
Well, Mark can tell me about that in the hall out.
let's do that. Let's do that.
We understood it, so therefore it's good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Hearing no other comments or questions, call a question on resolution number 2377. All those in favor, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay. The next item on our agenda is ordinance number 2281 for first reading to amend chapter 15.24 of the housing standards of our municipal code. I'll entertain a motion and to support ordinance 2281. Is there any motion?
So moved, so moved.
All right. Well, I don't know what next step
yes,
is going to be. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Tillman.
All right, this is ordinance number 2281, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, to amend Chapter 15.24 of the Housing Standards of the Municipal Code to change the requirements for eligibility of the board members for the Housing Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Obviously, this proposed ordinance has been kicked around in a number of work sessions and everything else, and the long and the short of it is that the specific requirements for, centered on occupation are being eliminated from the ordinance, and the ordinance will be made up of basically residents of the city of Salisbury will serve as members of the board. And they'll be appointed, the 2-year term, the staggered terms have been eliminated, and they'll be appointed for the term of 4 years. And then there's an addition, if you look at lines 33 and 34, the point there was to basically, if board members fail to attend training or fail to attend meetings on a regular basis, they can be removed from their positions at the discretion of the city. And that's it. Those are the only changes.
Okay. Just one really minor question I had on line 27. It says, it leaves in the term "at large," residents of the city of Salisbury. Is that at-large component necessary? Does that indicate something that we need in there versus just saying residents?
No, I mean, it really doesn't add anything now that we're eliminating the more specific occupational designations.
Okay.
So you could eliminate those 2 words as well.
Just curious.
No, there's no, a resident of the city of Salisbury is a resident of the city of Salisbury. Thank you.
If I might, line 28, just for an editorial, mayor and council should be capitalized.
Okay. Other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
You're right, we have banged this around a lot.
Yeah, in fact, we've banged it around so much that it's been changed and rechanged and this does not reflect where I thought we were. I didn't agree with the change to begin with, and I'm not going to support it, but I don't think it is where we last left it either, so.
What is different from
Well,
where you thought we were?
I thought we had the homeowner and renter provisions in there to ensure that it didn't go all one way or the other, and those are gone. I'm not sure when that happened or where, but somewhere along the way, we reverted back to just striking the requirements for the professions, which I supported leaving in to begin with, and I've said that all along. So,
Just from a legal point of view, I wasn't certain what everyone wanted on the board, but we did some pretty significant research because the question was whether or not we could require that people be homeowners at all in the city. And my conclusion, and we haven't had a work session since then due to weather issues and stuff like that, but my conclusion was that we really should not legally attempt to limit it to homeowners.
But we could.
It has been done in other places, but clearly, I think it would be difficult for us to demonstrate any kind of legal basis for limiting anyone to being a homeowner versus a resident of the city on this board.
But could we specifically say that 1 or 2 members must be renters?
You probably would have the same or opposite argument.
It was in there before.
We would have to demonstrate, if challenged, the city might have to demonstrate a rational basis for why we chose to single out renters as members of the board as well. It's the old rule was that you had to be a landowner in order to vote, and obviously those are long gone. And in order to make distinctions like that based on a person's occupation or ownership of property, you generally need to be able to demonstrate a rational basis for why the city needs to limit it to those people. If we were going to require some homeowners and some tenants, then that would make make more sense.
But Mr. Tillman, that's what was in there originally. It was, and I remember the discussion where we discussed scratching this. The conclusion I think was that you were going to look into it. I don't think we had made a final conclusion, and I don't remember if you were here or not that meeting, I think you were, but I think it wasn't so much a final conclusion as it was you were going to research it. So-
Yeah, and we hadn't had another work
Right,
session
right.
to discuss it again or get your input on that, but my conclusion was that we really, if we wanted to require that some of those seats be held by homeowners, we might be stepping on the line of what was legal at that point.
I think what was originally in there though was not that you need to be a homeowner or you need to be a renter, but that at least one of the members is a homeowner and at least one of the members is a renter. And it said both, which I think is as, if not more, equitable than no specification, where the entire board could be property owners and no renter is represented, or the entire board is renters and no property owner is represented.
I think if you did it that way, you would, I guess you could have a point of view basis for doing that. That we want the point of view of at least one homeowner, and the point
I
of view
think that's the
of
only
at least one
purpose,
tenant.
point of
That
view.
I did not have that in my notes. That's the
Okay.
reason it's not reflected here.
I didn't either. I thought we talked about this back and forth, and I thought that we had ultimately decided that we would go with just residents, and that it would be through the recommendation of the mayor and then ultimately the review by the council, that we would look at that individual's qualifications in a particular
Right.
situation to determine whether or not they'd be the best fit for the board. That's my recollection, and I think that's why we ended up.
I think that's fine, but I guess the backstop being the city code would at least show that there was an intent when this was edited and when this was written to ensure that all points of view are represented in the room. I think that would be at least a good backstop to ensure that even if the mayor and council at that time, many years into the future, aren't thinking about it, the backstop is there to ensure that that's protected.
I think if it's not in our ordinance and we start asking those questions when someone applies to be on the board or when they come before council for approval to be on here, then we're opening ourselves up to trouble. Because then it's like, well, why does that matter? Why are you asking me? Particularly if the only person we're appointing that night, we're looking for a homeowner and we say, are you a homeowner? We're looking to make sure that we have a homeowner on there, but they could take it as, why are
Well,
you
it would
you're
be easy
discriminating
to
against
do
me if
that.
I'm not?
No, it would be easy to simply say composed of one homeowner and one tenant, and then we could throw back in the at-large, and then say, and then the remainder being at-large residents of the city of Salisbury, without
I'd like to
regard
offer an
to.
amendment then to change that line to include that the at-large residents will include at least one homeowner and at least one renter.
That's right.
Okay.
That'll cover it, won't it?
That's right.
And on line 34 as well, the same editorial comment, which is mayor and council should be capitalized.
Shouldn't city on 27 be?
Sorry.
City on 27 shouldn't.
City
be
on
counted.
27.
Yeah. All right.
When in doubt, make it bigger.
Any discussion on the amendment? I'm sorry, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Ms. Shields. All right, any other discussion on the amendment? And I'll just say it again as I took it down, Mr. Spies. It would read on line 27, residents of the city of Salisbury to include at least one renter and at least one homeowner,
Yes,
period.
that'll work. Or which shall include.
Or which shall include?
I thought you wanted a separate sense. I had just put in there, shall be residents of the city of Salisbury, period. The resident shall include at least one tenant and at least one homeowner.
That's good with me.
Is that all right?
I'll adjust it to fit
Just
that.
simple,
That's fine.
okay.
You're still good with that?
We'll go your route.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of the amendment as proposed, please signify your support by saying aye.
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 Votes aye. Great. And the editorial edits, you got those?
The capitalization.
Capitalizations.
Yeah, and I think we can actually do that in the code anyway, capitalize those words without
Across the board.
specifically amending the ordinance.
Great. Okay, is there anything else? Other questions, comments, concerns, amendments? Okay, Hearing none. All those in favor of ordinance number 2281, and again, this is first reading, as amended, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, and the chair votes aye. That was 3 ayes, 1 nay. Okay. Thank you all very much. Moving on, next item on our agenda is ordinance number 2278 for second reading. This is the appropriation of funds from the speed camera account to purchase a new vehicle for the police fleet. I'll entertain a motion to support ordinance 2278.
So moved.
All right, motion
Second.
by Mr. Spees, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell. Mr. Tillman?
All right, this is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of FY14 general fund budget to appropriate funds received from the general fund speed camera account to aid in the purchase of one new vehicle for the police fleet. The vehicle to be purchased is to be a more efficient vehicle, a 2014 Ford Fusion, and the department is basically getting rid of a 2003 Ford Crown Victoria. In order to accomplish this, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the city's fiscal year 2013 general fund budget is hereby amended as follows. Increase in the general fund current surplus account 01000-469810 by $27,300, and an increase in the police department budget by an equivalent amount.
Questions for Mr. Tillman or Chief Barkley? Okay.
Chief Barkley, have you driven one of these?
I have not.
I'm sorry, Colonel Barkley. You have not. Any comments from any of your staff
Change that to 14 so it's consistent.
regarding the roadworthiness and
Captain Simon has one, very pleased with the
Should be 14,
gas mileage.
like this is, I think.
So this is number 13.
well, we'll be looking forward, I think, to hearing
14.
more comments as we purchase more of this vehicle, more of these vehicles.
And Colonel, my apologies. My intent wasn't to promote you on the spot. It was only to acknowledge that you're second in command and you're highest ranking police officer in the room. So,
That's not a problem, sir.
all right.
But we're consistent.
Okay.
All right.
All right. No other questions?
One more correction
I'm sorry,
that was
go
just brought to my attention by Mr. Cordry is that in the title, he says that it is correctly referred to as the fiscal year 14 budget, but down below, it incorrectly says the fiscal year 2013 budget. So we're talking about amending the 14 budget.
All right. Can we just make that administratively?
Huh?
Just the 3 to 4?
No, I think with that one, in fact, we
You'd like to-
should amend
Understood.
that particular one.
All right. I'll entertain.
I'll offer an amendment to that effect. Thank you.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the amendment? All right. All those in favor, please signify your support by saying aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Okay. And anything else?
That was for the amendment.
That was just for the amendment. Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 2278, please signify your support, as amended, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you all very much. Colonel, thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is ordinance number 2279. This is for first reading. This is a transfer of insurance funds within the fire department operating budget. I will entertain a motion to support ordinance 2279.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Shields, second by Ms. Mitchell. Mr. Tillman.
Okay, this is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the fiscal year 2014 Fire Department budget to transfer insurance funds received by the city to the Fire Department operating budget from the general fund for revenue received for repairs performed on Tower 16, Engine 16, Ambulance A1, and Ambulance 16-1. Whereas damage was done to Tower 16, Engine 16, Ambulance A1, and Ambulance 16-1 while performing legitimate city fire department duties, and whereas the fire department is paid for the repairs to the damaged property described, and whereas the city has received a total of $20,575.11 from insurance proceeds for repairs to the tower, the engine, the ambulance, and the 2 ambulances, and whereas the insurance proceeds are to be used to replenish the fire department budget accounts and to bring them back in line with planned FY14 budget expense projections for the remainder of the fiscal year. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the city's fiscal year 2014 budget be and is hereby amended as follows, with an increase in the general fund revenue insurance proceeds account 01000-456935 by $20,575.11, an increase in the fire department's expense vehicles account 24035-534308 by $16,093.97, and an increase in the fire department's expense equipment repairs account 24035-534302 by $4,481.
Thank you. Chief Hoppus, would you mind, just for the public's benefit, talking briefly about what happened to Tower 16, Engine 16, Ambulance A1, and Ambulance A16-1?
Well, I don't have the details in front of me. What I can say is pursuant to operating the equipment while driving, each piece of equipment was damaged, either by a member of the department at fault by our members or by civilians hitting our equipment while it was either parked or on the roadway.
Okay. And presumably, given these numbers and given the cost of those pieces of equipment, these are relatively small incidents?
Yes.
Small
Yes.
accidents. Okay.
The largest one being the tower, because it's a $1 million asset. It cost quite a bit to get it fixed.
Sure. Okay. Other questions?
These amounts will completely cover the damage?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Less the city's $1,000 deductible per incident. Yes.
Thank you.
In the cases where it was our fault,
Correct.
when the
Correct.
other insurance was paying, we don't have that. So
That's correct.
2 out of the 4. I do have one question that's probably better for Mr. Cordry, actually. We talked a number of times about these situations that come up and trying to find some mechanism to replenish those accounts when that money is paid back without having to do budget amendments every time. Have we made any headway there?
I'd be happy to bring something to a work session.
Okay.
Can we do that during budget sessions?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
I'd like to see that because I think
We'll put that on the schedule.
I think it's a lot more efficient, first of all, but it also gives an impression to the public that we're constantly amending the budget and moving money here and there and everywhere when it's something that's fairly routine. The money has been repaid to the city and it just needs to go back to the account where it came from.
Great. Thank you both. Any other questions for either Mr. Cordry or Chief Hoppus? No. All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of ordinance number 2279, please signify your support by saying aye.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry.
I'm standing in for the attorneys.
Oh, Mr. Tillman, did you have something else?
I just had a question about the ordinance for Mr. Cordry.
So don't say aye yet.
He said that we're fine, so.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Question was called? The chair votes aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, and last item on our agenda is ordinance number 2280, also for first reading. This is also a FY14 Fire Department budget amendment. This is to transfer funds for turnout gear. I will entertain a motion to support ordinance 2280.
Mr. Council President, before you proceed, please, I apologize for the interruption, if I may. I know we spoke before the meeting started, and it was not until after the council had adopted this evening's agenda that I have discovered that it would be in the best interest of the administration to table this ordinance until we meet again on the 24th. I do not have sufficient information to provide for the council tonight. Chief Hoppus did everything he needed to do to get that information to me, but I did not get it to you. So I would ask that we would table that ordinance until the 24th.
Okay, before we discuss tabling it, the information that was included, that was updated on the information that was needed that you mentioned to me, that was updated on the website.
I will complicate this even further by saying there was some additional information added to the city website. It too was incorrect.
Okay.
When was that added?
I'm sorry?
When was that information added?
This afternoon, during the work session, in an attempt to get the the correct information to the public. And I accept full responsibility for that shortcoming.
Okay, I understand. All right, well, will that in any way, and this is directed to Chief Office, and I recognize, and I'm not trying to, ask questions of the administration through the, not trying to work around any channels here, but will you still be able to get the gear you need to get in a timely fashion if we wait 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
One more question too regarding the purchase of turnout gear. Are we involved with other municipalities when we purchase this gear? Do we get a bulk rate, or are we working toward that?
Well, we would certainly work towards that. When 10 years ago, when we changed our turnout gear to its current format, we certainly did work with other municipalities in the design and engineering of the turnout gear. With regards to the purchasing power, buying in bulk, we have not been able to secure any buying power through other municipalities, generally because each set of turnout gear is custom to the individual departments, and whether it's what color the turnout gear, what color the trim and the turnout gear is. Sure. The general protective envelope, however, is what we work towards standardizing with other municipalities. However, we've not been able to secure a template or an example where we could join forces with another department yet. We will always investigate that, but we haven't been able to secure that yet.
Is that something that comes up at conferences, to get with all the other chiefs and say, come on, guys, let's get it together and, have this bit of commonality to our uniforms?
Yeah, there are two large areas in which we investigate that. One is through the International Association of Fire Chiefs, of which we're a member. They have a section of the I-Chiefs called GPO, which is their grant, their general purchasing, whatever it is. But anyway, they do bulk buying for large sections of the country. Right. The other part is I'm a member of the Maryland Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association, where we meet every other month with chiefs from across the state, and we have several discussions about purchasing power and as it relates to equipment and gear and apparatus. Absolutely.
Do federal gear, federal turnout gear guidelines, are those something that you might entertain at some point? There are fire departments within the federal government.
Yes, yes. The answer is yes. I'm not aware of any other than District of Columbia, which is something we can certainly look into. But generally, each individual department generally takes the National Fire Protection Association standard and develops its own specifications based on the newest quality and protective envelope of the materials, et cetera, to its individual need.
I was thinking more along the lines of, airports, military bases, et cetera, to find out if they have a standard uniform within their organizations.
And I'm not sure if they do or not,
Nor do I.
but we can certainly look at that.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, in the interest of moving forward, I'll entertain a motion to table.
So moved. Second.
All right. And all those in favor of tabling this until the 24th, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So
Thank you, and I apologize for
you're
the
welcome.
confusion.
So we'll move that to the 24th, and we'll see you back then, Chief. Thank you.
Chief, thank you for your comments.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, and that was the last item on our agenda. We do have one request for public comment. Mr. Rue. Welcome.
I'm Michael Rue. I'm from Seaford, Delaware. Reason I'm down here is I was able to attend your Envision Salisbury workshop last month. It was very cold and run around in Army parka, but you do what you got to do. And I would like to applaud and commend the City Council of Salisbury for sponsoring that workshop. I'm 55 years old. It's nice to be able to sit down with 26-year-old kids that haven't met all the roadblocks that are put up in their pathway and can look at the world through a different set of eyes. There's a lot of roadblocks that are put up, and there are a lot of government agencies that don't want the public to be involved. And I hope, it's my hope that Salisbury, unlike a lot of other communities, will keep the public involved in the process and be inclusive of all the people that are involved in the process. The way I got to Salisbury is I grew up in Hurlock across from the railroad tracks. My mother still lives across the street from the railroad tracks. They have an annual festival. About 8 years ago, I walked from Hurlock to Preston. I took pictures all along the railroad line. I never knew there was a trestle back there. This was in my 40s, and I never knew there was a trestle bridge back there. So I took a series of pictures. Hurlock has a philosophy, and I'm sorry, but they have a philosophy that we're going to dot the I, we're going to cross the T, and once everything is in place, then we will move forward with whatever we're doing. You know, we don't want the public to be involved. They've been trying for 8 years to get excursion training in Hurlock. Well, I ended up 2 years ago coming down to Salisbury and getting involved with the arts and crafts market down there. It's a very small market. It's just getting on its feet. And I brought some of my pictures from Hurlock. Well, Memorial Day about a year ago, I spent my time between the Route 13 bridge over by the railroad tracks all the way down to Isabella Street. Well, anybody that's from Salisbury or local area knows that is not the best area for a person to be walking around sometimes, but it cost me 3 cigarettes to get in and out of there, so I figured the rate was pretty decent. I took about 120 pictures that day. After I went to the workshop, I went home and I'm like, okay, I'll caption these and I'll send them. I had got contact information with one of the students and he's going to pass them on to somebody else as soon as the Postal Service delivers them. But of course, none of them were loaded on the computer. So I have copies of that for the entire council.
Oh.
I was lucky that I figured out that there were 7 people on the council. This one is marked for Mayor Arch, and
There are actually 5, so you might have extras.
Thank you. North Prong. You did it North Prong.
and Cohen.
Ms. Cohen? Yeah, we can make sure.
And they have all my pictures. I just appreciate if you don't sell them under your name and take the profits from it, you know, but I also have no control over that. To my surprise, after I went to the workshop, I was talking to a fellow member of the arts and crafts. She does some knitting and stuff, and I was talking to her. She didn't have an opportunity to attend the workshop. And we were talking, one thing that was brought up during the workshops, and luckily, when I sat down at the table, I was sitting at the table of the North Prong. Well, that was one of the areas I had also taken pictures, and they're also on the CD. Luckily, I was able to add some information, mouth open, words come out. WBC interviewed me for about 2 or 3 minutes. It was kind of shrunk down a little bit, but it was a very enjoyable activity. And, you know, the more people from the community, I mentioned somebody, the guy that cuts my hair, I said something to him about downtown Seaford. And they haven't built momentum on getting their downtown going, but they're also under the illusion, however you want to put it, that if you let the general public know what you're doing, then you're going to have a lot of dissension. Well, that may be a fact, but you also are not going to have as many ideas coming in. You know, there were a variety of things that were discussed during that workshop. One thing I brought up was restrooms. Restrooms are a pain as far as maintenance and whatever. But if you want a walking public, or you want a biking public, or you want people out in the public, then you need to have restroom facilities, even if you incorporate it into a concession stand for canoes and kayaks, which was another thing that was brought up. The North Prong past the bridges is not suitable for large boat traffic that would cater to Brew River. but it's an activity area that if you had canoe and kayak rentals, it might be in the price point range of the North Prong. And North Prong area, west of the North Prong, is a working class area and below. I mean, we know how the areas are set up. But to my surprise last week, when I was talking to this friend of mine that also does the arts and crafts market, one thing that was brought up was about the parking spaces, and you have a farmer's market down here. And I said, well, you know, they could put some community gardens down there by the farmer's market. Halo's already doing community gardens, plus Halo is also raising tilapia. And I haven't had a chance to talk to the lady that runs the program down there, but my understanding is that they're actually doing it as an experimental project in 55-gallon drums to raise tilapia, but it's for missionary work in Dominican Republic. Well, you know, I don't know anybody from Dominican Republic, and that's a great idea, but it's also something that could be applied locally. And I was surprised to see in the Salisbury paper about the community gardens last week. I don't normally pick up the Salisbury paper, but it hit me on the headlines, and I'm glad to see that somebody is thinking about the community gardens. I went to one in Philly. It's been years ago, and I've been in and out of gardening over the years. I went to one in Philly years ago, and the people that I was visiting, it was a white couple, but the area was an impoverished area of town. Across the street from the building that I went to, there were armed bars that big around. They had a New York landlord. The man didn't want to do anything to the property. Well, it took me down to tour where their community garden was. They said before they went in there to put the community garden in, it was a collection of beer bottles and gin bottles and hypodermic needles and whatever. The people went in there as residents, cleaned it up, said they had absolutely no problem with anybody damaging the gardens because they said that the people that were gardening in there were the local people. And if the local hoodlums had come in there and started messing up their garden, they knew how to deal with the local hoodlums. They took ownership in that piece of property, you know, and that's what I'm talking about with inclusiveness. Something like community gardens, whether they're off the North Prong, which would be beneficial to that area, whether the results of the community gardens are that excess produce goes to a food bank and feeds the homeless, whether it's an opportunity for somebody that's not making a lot of money to be able to have a little rental prop. I was stationed in Nyon, West Germany with the United States Army on the Blue Danube, which I'm sorry is algae green, but and over in Europe, and especially in Nyon, I can't remember the exact sequence because it was 30 years ago, but you had the railroad tracks at one point, you had the Blue Danube at another point, you had the interstate at the other point, and interstate in downtown Nyon goes 60 to 70 miles an hour through the center of the town. That's why all the crosswalks, which you may want to apply here, all the crosswalks were underneath the ground. Glass blocks, and the lighting was behind the glass blocks, so you didn't have to worry about them getting busted. They were very narrow, so you didn't have any cubby holes for people to be hiding or up to mischief or whatever. But what they had done was, in between the railroad tracks and the river, and in between the railroad tracks and the interstate, they had terraced gardens along there, and these people would have like little 12 by 16 cottages, and that was their summer retreat. I had friends that were living on the German economy in the 80s that you had to decide what you were going to do in the kitchen before you went in because you had to be facing the proper direction. when you went into the bathroom, you had to do basically the same thing because they were very, very small apartments. And this was a place that the people, you know, in a metropolitan area could get out. And the reason I bring that up is you've got a lot of apartments downtown that seriously need balconies. They seriously need some place where if you drive through downtown Salisbury, and this is not just Salisbury, it's all downtowns. When you drive through downtown Salisbury at night, you don't see any activity. Well, if you don't see any activity and you're from out of town, you're only going to drive through there a few times and it's like there's nothing going on here. But if you got balconies and you got decks and you got outdoor eating areas and you put community gardens in the parking lot where the people can rent a space to be able to do a little bit of gardening, then those apartments start to look a little bit more attractive than just, I worked all day, I come home to a box, and that's the extent of it. So there's a lot of things that can be applied. And one other thing, you've got local restaurants downtown. There needs to be a coordination between the local restaurants and the farmers market, that when the farmers market's in session, those chefs need to be down to the farmers market, taking the local produce, preparing dishes to show what can be done with the local produce. Hope House, if they're raising tilapia, hey, that's a great marketing tool for a local restaurant to be able to say, hey, we've got tilapia sitting on your table that didn't have to drive any farther than from one end of town to the other. I mean, the Moore's Lumber Company, they've got enough facility. And you were speaking earlier with the other lady. That's another thing is you have to look at long-term. Evo, you lucked out that they decide to locate here from what I've understood. You know, $150,000 is a chunk of change for a water usage fee, and I mean, that's something you all control, but you're lucky that they came back to Salisbury, and I hate to see a 100-year-old building like Union Station over there next to Church Street. That building has been standing for 100 years. Why are we going to be the ones that's going to let it fall down? You know, if it was made into a restaurant, you not only have the front people that, you know, they put on the suit and the tie and, how may I help you? But you got ones that got to cut the potatoes and peel the onions and everything else. So.
Mr. Rue, I'm sorry, in the interest of time, I have to, but I appreciate it. We appreciate your thoughts. I think if you wouldn't mind just for 1 second, I just have a few things to offer. One, regarding Union Station, I agree with you, and it's not my place to talk about it, but my understanding is that the owners who own Evo have a plan for using that facility. So soon, hopefully, we'll see some activity there. I think it's also worth noting that the community gardens discussion you're talking about that took place last week, they'll be meeting again in about 3 weeks. Would love to add you to that contact list if you're interested. So I want to make sure I've got the best way to contact you when we walk out of here. And
I've got contact sheets for you.
Thank you. And I also just want to say thank you for your thoughts on engaging the public in process whenever we're doing anything big, because that's the key. It's not so much our ideas that matter, but that we're listening to the public's ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's also a sketch of my garden in there.
Thank you.
It hasn't been completely built yet.
With that, I do want to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Our next legislative session is March 24th. Next work session is March 17th at 1:30 p.m. in this room. I'm sorry? Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not going to adjourn. We'll come back for closed session, but I want to take a break first.
Yes,
like
please.
15 minutes so people can get food and if they need to. Okay, so we're not going to adjourn, but we will recess for 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's the one.
We'll come back And, okay, so we're recessed until 7:37.
My mother calls me a PAC rat. I prefer days like
Okay, we are reconvened. Welcome back to the March, what is it, the 7th, 14th?
10th.
10th? Excuse me.
Took away our calendars.
Yeah. Welcome back to the March 10th legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. The last thing on our agenda this evening is a closed session. The purpose of tonight's closed session was to discuss a real estate transaction that involves the city and to discuss the nomination and appointment of the city administrator. So with that, I will entertain a motion to enter closed session.
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Ms. Shields, second by Mrs. Mitchell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We are now in closed session. Ms. Nichols, if you wouldn't mind closing.